In this episode of OG55, I'm joined by Mr. Webba in a Mario hoodie and George, the Italiano. We are talking all about Disneyland's 70th anniversary. There were some news that dropped. We're going to talk about it. Also, this event that Josh D'Amaro is hosting or doing with Alan Berman. Tomorrow, we're going to give a little last minute predictions as to what might be announced for that event, because we are hearing word on the street that there might be some big news tomorrow, but we will see. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down up next on Jeezy, Biddy, Easy. Hold on, everybody. I did that wrong. We got 3 Californians here. Come on.
I ain't got nothing to say but West Side.
Much better, much better. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this amazing episode of OG55. We're talking all about the Disneyland 70th anniversary, which is coming up fast and furious. Coming up just a couple months. We're going to talk about it, break it down, new announcements, all that good stuff. But George, the Italiano, where can everybody find you in your black shirt on social media, sir?
Absolutely. Well, you can find both of us on X, formerly known as Twitter. You could also at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also check me out on my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
Yeah, George and I did a great, we call them bar chats, where we find a place in the theme park. And we just have a few drinks and just talk about theme parks. And we did that. It was on Saturday, I believe. Video is up right now. Great conversation. We're actually going to cover some of that stuff today. But yeah, check it out. Citrico Central. But now, speaking of content, we got Mr. Webba here doing big things. Webba did some big things actually on Saturday night. And I think the people at home are probably asking,
just what the fuck did he do?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what he did. He did Spider Days, a live Lego build and chat, which is amazing. He's doing the Back to the Future DeLorean. Ebba's first live chat, did a fantastic job. It was really fun. You know, he was building and we were talking parks and all that good stuff, and look forward to more of that content moving forward. But Mr. Webba, how you doing today, sir?
Thank you so much, OG, for having me on. Can't wait to talk about all of the topics we have today. And yes, Spider Days actually it's for Saturdays. It's not every Saturday, just when Spider-Man's available to do them. But they are dedicated to Saturdays.
Yes.
Absolutely. But yeah, it was fun. The DeLorean was probably a mistake for me to build my first time, but because that thing is deep and in depth. Just how I like to be on my women. But yeah, so you can find me here on OG55. You can find me on Instagram and Threads, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me on Twitter or X, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760.
There he is. Mr. Webba is in the house. Okay, so we got some announcements the other day. I hate doing this, but I might get a little toxic. I might be a little negative today because I'm not super thrilled with some of this stuff, but we'll go through it. So this is courtesy of WDWNT. Disneyland adding Coco to its Small World and 70th anniversary decor. So this is actually one of the things I do like. I thought this was really cool. Disney has been adding IP into Small World. I know a lot of the Disney diehards, the nerds, right? The nerd community, they don't really like this. I'm fine with it. I think they've handled the character inclusion into the attraction with some taste. They're overall pretty subtle. The Coco additions look really, really good in my opinion. But we'll start with this. What do you think, George? You down for Coco? I mean, it's kind of cool in my opinion too. Real quick before you go on, Coco is going to be such a big part of the Disneyland Resort going forward with DCA, right? So it makes sense to have Coco represented in the celebration. This actually makes a lot of sense, unlike some of the other stuff they're announcing. But go ahead, George.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Being that, Coco is going to have a heavy presence in the parks, primarily at the Disneyland Resort. At DCA, it was very fitting to include him somewhere in Disneyland Park. And then what better way to have him represented but as It's a Small World doll, because they already have a lot of Disney and Pixar characters already implemented into the ride. Coco is a very beloved film. Obviously, it's still relevant enough that it's going to be getting its own attraction, which I feel that I can't believe it's taken this long to even get Coco its own attraction into DCA, especially with a lot of the Mexican Hispanic culture that's in the state of California. But I'm glad that they're focusing on it now. And I do feel like it is a great representation. And I don't think fans would really have too much of an issue with this, being that, Coco comes from the Mexican heritage and how he's like in the authentic clothing, playing the guitar and everything. So it'll fit well in the Mexican Hispanic Spanish portion of It's a Small World, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Webba, what are your thoughts on Miguel and his trusted Alahabre? See, this is where my whiteness really comes through, right? You'll never hear me sound whiter than when I try to speak Spanish. But Eva, you gonna out-white me, bro? What do you think? What do you think about this Coco edition?
Well, first of all, no one can out-white you, OG.
I know it's
are whiter. You are whiter than the light on my camera right here.
There it is. Absolutely.
I will say this really quick. I won't say it on air, but we know OG's full name, first name, middle, and last. And I tell you what, that's about as white as you can get. Like
very white, very, very white. Yeah, 100%. We were dying. We were dying the other day talking about that. It was pretty funny. It was fantastic. But Eva, what are your thoughts? Miguel coming to Small World?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with George. I don't know what took so long for them to do that. But better late than never with this. And I think it is a perfect fit, right? Because from that picture, it looks like it fits perfectly in the setting from Mexico. And I think that also it coming with the Coco ride for DCA, right? I think that's cool because now you kind of have like two Coco themes, really. You have a Coco addition to It's a Small World, and then you have the Coco ride coming to DCA. So I do wish they would have brought him sooner, but you know what? I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just glad that he's finally here now because, I think that area was missing something compared to all the other areas in It's a Small World. So I'm glad he's there.
100%. Now, we also got some news. It's part of the same article, courtesy of WDWNT. Even the toys are celebrating. On Toy Story Midway Mania in DCA, look for nods to the 70th as you compete for the highest score on the Carnival-inspired game. So you can see here the 70th. This kind of reminds me a little bit of like what they did for the 50th anniversary with like the 50s all around Disney Land Park. They had like the... in Adventureland, like these wooden carven 50s, and they had more metallic 50s in Tomorrowland. So each land got its own little 50 kind of nod. This kind of reminds me of that. Nothing spectacular, but I do like the fact that DCA is kind of joining in the celebration. Look, I mean, technically it's not DCA's 70th anniversary, but DCA is a huge part of Disneyland's history. I say it all the time. When fans tell us like, oh, who cares about DCA? It's not Disneyland. I care. It literally sits just feet away from Disneyland. It's part of that Disneyland area. I want it to be amazing, right? So it's part of Disneyland history. It should be included. And we actually have one of my favorite news stories to come out the other day. It actually comes from DCA. But George, what are your thoughts on the 70 iconography being added to Midway Mania? You love it, not like it, don't really care?
I think it's okay. I think honestly that the fact that Disney is paying attention to, tweaking some details into a park, as you were saying, that it's not really its anniversary, it's Disneyland. But when you look at the resort as a whole, it's nice to see that DCA is included, and they don't have to go all rambunctious on like the decorations or anything. Enjoy the fact that DCA is included with the 70th anniversary celebration, you know, because I feel like Disney is going into the direction where when you say Walt Disney World, you think of all 4 theme parks. A lot of times, for a long time, anytime someone says Disneyland, they just think of Disneyland Park, not as Disneyland the resort as a whole. And I think moving forward, especially with DCA getting expansions, you know, with the Disneyland Forward and new attractions coming along, and they're being included with the 70th anniversary, I feel like moving forward, when you say Disneyland, a lot of people should start honing in on the notion of it being the Disneyland resort, including DCA.
Yeah, DCA is part of that Disneyland story. Whether people want to know that, hear that or not, it is part of Disneyland's story, you know? And honestly, it was the right move by Michael Eisner. I think you had to create a resort multi-day experience for Disneyland to continue on through the years. It would not have lasted, in my opinion. It would not have thrived as a single park thing forever. You needed to grow. So whether DCA 1.0 was a hit for you or not, it was still something that needed to be done. And DCA is part of that whole equation. It was definitely something that Disneyland needed. It set the stage for things like Downtown Disney and eventually a third park. So yeah, well said, George. Like, DCA is part of Disneyland's history, and it should be included in this celebration. It's every bit as part of the history as anything else. So, but we have more. Oh,
and really quick, I just have to add on to that too. That, as you were saying, OG, that if people were saying, you know, why did DCA 1.0 exist? You know, why did they make this park the way it is? Well, if they didn't, if you look at the park now, Radiator Springs Racers, 65 minutes. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, 95 minutes. There's a lot of great attractions that is part of DCA that wouldn't be now had it not started from nothing and became something.
Yes. The hardest thing, and I've said this about Epic Universe as well, and I've said this about Avengers Campus, the hardest thing with a lot of these things is just getting the thing built initially. So the hardest part about DCA was getting it built. Now that it's built, now you can play with it. Now you can improve upon it. Now you can add to it, make it better and better, which they have done. It's not a perfect park by any means, but the hardest part is behind us. Getting that thing built in the parking lot was the biggest hurdle. Absolutely. Now that you have the park built, now you can do fun stuff like you were saying, like Cars Land, and you can do the Coco boat ride and Avatar and all that good stuff, right? So yeah, we got rid of it. We accomplished the hardest element of it, and now we can play with this park and improve upon it. And they are, you know, we are getting one of Imagineering's biggest feats with Pandora. One of Imagineering's crown jewels. Okay, we're getting a version of that at DCA. And not only are we getting a version of that, we are getting a nighttime version every single night at DCA. Even Florida doesn't have that. So that's big. I mean, this is DCA. This is the park that has Goofy's stupid Sky School. This same park is going to have Pandora. That's wild to me. And that's awesome. You know, so I absolutely love it. But we got more news. This is where it gets a little weird. Now, look, everyone at home, you know, I love Japanese culture. I'm a huge fan of the culture. I love the traditional Japanese culture along with the Japanese pop culture. I absolutely love it.
That's not the only thing.
Yeah, and the women, I'm attracted for sure to the women. Absolutely. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not. I do have a Japanese woman bias for sure. But here's the thing. Duffy had a short little stint over there at DCA, right? I don't think Shelley May has ever been here in Disneyland Resort.
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of. Huge in Japan. Not so much here. But here's the weird thing. Why for the 70th? Because it's not like Duffy played like a big part of like Disneyland history or even DCA history. It was like this short little window in time. Like, I get it. Coco makes sense. Coco is a big part of DCA's future. Makes sense. On board 1,000%. Duffy though, and Shelley May, this feels like to me a last minute, like, what can we add? Oh, we'll do that. I don't know. This feels weird to me. Like I said, I like the Japanese culture. I like the fact that they're like obsessed with Duffy. I think it's awesome. It just feels weird for me in this particular celebration. Like, why? Right? Any other time period, if this was like a springtime event or like a some sort of other thing, it would make more sense. But for the 70th, it just feels a little off to me. But what say you?
You would think it would be, because even a lot of the color scheme kind of gives off like an Easter springtime feel. And I'm all for about that lively, you know, colors and vibrant thing, because we talked about this before, like even like with the 60th anniversary, it was kind of a little more elegant, more upscale, more chic. So I'm glad that they're kind of doing like fun colors, like, but I feel like they're kind of going like too much, you know, with the fun colors in it. It feels like when I look at this looks like something that would be like for a springtime parade or like an Easter.
Yeah, it's Easter.
Yeah, like it just doesn't like scream 70th anniversary for me. Now I'm just looking at a piece of concept art. I don't know how this is going to look in reality when eventually I do see this in person. Now, speaking of Duffy and Shelley May, I feel like that Disney's trying to utilize the 70th to try to get into a route that Tokyo has done, because they're big on that, and they're maybe trying to like hone in on the domestic and American culture to try to bring those characters over. I just feel like the 70th is not the time and place to do that.
I would agree. I'm all about, like I said, I'm all about the Japanese pop culture. I love it. I love what they do over there in Japan. But is this the proper celebration to kind of do that with? I don't know. It just feels kind of weird to me. You know, you had all these years to bring Duffy back, and this is the year you decide. So it feels to me a little shoehorned, right? So I don't know. What say you, Mr. Webba? I mean, Duffy coming to Disneyland, do you care or not so much?
It's whatever for me. I'm not, you know, like I'm not really a parade person, so that's not really my thing. The only parades I like are really shows in that matter at Disney parks are like nighttime stuff. For me, it's as cliche as it sounds, it's more magical, it's more exciting, it's more wow. For daytime stuff, it's not really my. I'll watch it, but it's not something I have to go and sit down to watch for like Fantasmic or like Main Street Electrical Parade or Paint the Night or something like that. I'm not really a daytime parade person. So I was like, okay, cool. It's a parade, whatever. But I do see your point about like, especially the color scheme, right? It's very purple, blues, and like yellows. That's very much like an Easter type of color. And maybe they could have gone with something else, but yeah, I mean, it looks nice for sure. It looks nice. The Duffy and the other chick, what her name is, what is it?
Shelley May.
I mean, they're cute. I don't care that they're coming into the parade, honestly. Again, I'm not a parade person, so I don't care. Could they have done it differently? Yeah, they could have. They could have like brought them out for like a special meet and greet type of deal for the 70th somewhere instead of in the parade, because you're celebrating 70 years at Disneyland, but yet these characters were never there in the first place.
That's my issue. They didn't really have a big role, or even like as far as we know, a big future at Disneyland Resort. So it feels weird to add them in the celebration. Like I said, Coco makes sense, but this doesn't make sense. Go ahead, George.
What I don't understand is like they're bringing this, and it's a new little thing to add on for the 70th, but it's a cavalcade. What I don't understand is that if they're taking the time to have this cavalcade, where even though it's very small, it's very quaint, it'll probably be a few minutes, you know, going from It's a Small World to Main Street and vice versa, and you're going to have all these people, you know, blocked off for this small little cavalcade anyway during the daytime. I just don't know why that they just won't bring Magic Happens back for the daytime.
I don't either.
Paint the Night in the evening.
So I agree with that, and I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know that this was only a cavalcade. Now that you tell me it's a cavalcade, it makes all the difference. Because why for the 70th are you bringing a short parade? Right. I don't understand it. Bring us a full-on parade. This is the 70th anniversary. Right. I don't understand that logic. Why not have Magic Happens during the day and then have Paint the Night at night?
Exactly.
And they can't say that that's an operational issue because, again, they're blocking the stuff off for a cavalcade.
Well, exactly. And it's not like Disney hasn't done this before. We've had daytime and nighttime parades at the same time before.
Yeah.
All the
So-
time. That's how it started off.
Right. We had the main theatrical parade with the daytime parade for literally decades. Like, so I don't understand that. I mean, look, maybe I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, fandom, if we're missing something, let us know in the chat. But I don't understand how, honestly, they could have done all those years and now they can't. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't.
I have two things, OG. One with the Duffy characters. I think this may be a way for them to introduce them now going forward. Hey, from the year 70 and on, these characters are going to be here. That's a theory I have.
It's possible.
With the cavalcade theme, okay, I like the cavalcades in like a short burst, random moments. What I don't like is it feels like they're kind of cheapening out with this cavalcade because they're like, oh, we aren't going to give you a full parade, but here's like a little cavalcade. Like, no, give me the.
What did that was COVID. When the park started reopening back up after the shutdown, and they only had X amount of cast members, and they didn't have a whole lot of people to save time, effort, and money, they did small little pop-up cavalcades. Well, here Disney probably moving forward was like, who thought? These are actually very popular. People actually like these. Hey, we can use these all the time. We can cut down on performers. We can cut down on floats. We can cut down on the time that it's actually moving forward because you're not having a long, extensive parade.
Well, George, but here's the thing, though, and I'm going to bring it up. The cavalcade that we had at 90s night, okay? You get people lining up for over half an hour to wait for a cavalcade. In my opinion, that's not
no. But here's the thing with that. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but on the itinerary they called that a parade.
So, 90s night.
They did. They called that a parade.
That was not a parade.
For me, they should have called it a cavalcade.
Yeah.
Because if they would have called it a cavalcade, then I would have known to say, okay, like it is what it is. But the way that it was presented, I thought they were going to bring out like renditions of like the older parade floats that was used in the 90s with the characters. And that wasn't the case. Literally, that cavalcade lasted 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Yeah. And the music, you could have had a little bit more, a little more 90s hip hop would have been nice. Now, in all seriousness, I know they can't do that, but no, and that was definitely a cavalcade. They sold it as a parade. It was not a parade, and it was underwhelming in my opinion compared to. I don't know, man. We'll get into 90s night again, but like that there was a lot of lost potential there. Go ahead, Webba.
What I was saying. Okay, so now look at that in terms of this 70th anniversary. Okay, you go watch the cavalcade. This cavalcade was 5-6 minutes, and that's it. How was that a big celebration of the 70 years anniversary?
No, for Disneyland's, I think it was the 35th anniversary, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in 1990. They had giant like Macy's Thanksgiving style floats going down Main Street. George, you probably remember. You were probably too young, obviously, but
I was young, but I do know what you're talking about because I have seen footage and photographs of those.
Massive celebration. Now, look, it's the 70th. It's not the 75th. I know the 75th is really like where they're really going to go all out. But this is what Disney used to do, right? So I don't know. I expect a little more than the cavalcade. Now, look, I'm not gonna shit on everything because there is stuff in this news drop that's good.
No,
but this isn't. Yeah.
Right. Now, I want to ask you both, do you feel that, now, again, I'm not saying that this is an excuse to do this, but do you think Disney is kind of pulling back a little bit on the 70th, kind of like how a lot of people were predicting in the very beginning because they have something bigger for the 75th?
It's possible in certain areas they're pulling back because in certain areas they're not pulling back at all. Like, for example, the Walt animatronic. That's a pretty hefty investment, for an off year, so to speak, but then you get into the parade stuff. Yeah, that seems like a pullback. So it's like yes and no. I feel like in some areas they are. So maybe maybe to your point, George, maybe for the parades, they're not ready yet for a new parade. So that'll be for the 75th. So right now we'll do the cavalcade because they don't want to introduce a new thing and then it's only going to last 5 years. You know?
Exactly. And also for the fireworks, because as much as I love Wondrous Journeys, like that leads more to the studio side for animation. That doesn't really have anything to do with Disneyland Park as a park, you know. So the fact that they're bringing that back, which I'm grateful that they are. I absolutely love that fireworks show. One of the only fireworks shows that, dare I say it, it actually like didn't make me cry, but it did definitely brought like some misty tears, you know, and a little lump in my throat, especially like for the 100 years of the studio. But yeah, again, I think that they're bringing that back because I think they're going to have something bigger as far as like a fireworks show, possibly a new daytime parade for the 75th.
Yeah, no, I agree. Wondrous Journeys is a beautiful, beautiful art piece. I mean, I'm not even being like facetious. Like, it's an art piece. It's gorgeous, you know, and such a beautiful tribute to animation, Disney animation. You know, I want to see something on that level for the parks. You know, so maybe 75th they'll do that. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, we do have this event tomorrow. I want to dip into this a little bit before we move on with our news stories, because it is tied to kind of what we're talking about right now. So Daddy Josh, as we call him, or Josh Diamaro, right? And Alan Bergman. Okay, now these two gentlemen are in the running to be the next Disney CEO, potentially, right? Now, I've been saying all along, I think it's Dana Walden's to lose. I think this is her thing. I think she's going to do it. I think she's going to be the next CEO. But to be fair, Josh and Bergman still have a chance, right? I mean, you know, as far as we know, it hasn't been decided yet. So there's an event tomorrow. Let me pull this up real quick because I do want to talk about this because I do think this is interesting, and it might tie. Oh, and it might tie into our expectations for the 70th. I'll tell you why in a second. But it says here that the future of world building at Disney, Josh Diamaro and Alan Bergman preview exciting session at SXSW. Over the last century, Disney has crafted a world built on innovation, creativity, and storytelling. However, what makes Disney unique is how artistry and technology work together to bring stories to life for people around the world every day. On Saturday, which is tomorrow, this relationship will be on full display when Josh Diamaro, the chairman of Disney Experiences, and Alan Bergman, the co-chair of Disney Entertainment, will present the future of world building at Disney, a feature session at SXSW conference in Austin, Texas. Now, here's why this is interesting. A lot of people that we trust in our community have been saying that look out for tomorrow. There's going to be big announcements. Now, George, on your channel, Citrico Central, right? Citrico Central. On your channel, we did a bar chat at Wasabi at City Walk talking about a couple of news stories not a lot of people are talking about. OC Register is mentioning that Disney wants Encanto at the Disneyland Resort. Okay, that's big. That's huge. And
the Register is a top-notch, news source.
You can't get more mainstream than OC Register, and it's almost to the point where like Disney like uses them to like weather balloon stuff, like throw it out there and see how people react, right? So this is not like if the OC Register is reporting on it, it's definitely being considered. Okay, so Encanto was one of the stories. The other thing was the Disney Parks account, the official account on Instagram, posted something to the effect of like, it doesn't matter what the question is. The answer is always the people mover. Now, we've yet to see what that was about, as far as we know. You know, George and I were like, oh, well, maybe it's a popcorn bucket. That's what we thought, but nothing ever came about that. We have Disneyland 70th in just a couple of months. We have Diamaro and Bergman telling us tomorrow that this is going to be on full display. Technology, innovation, right? Tomorrow, we're hearing all these rumblings. News is going to be announced. Okay, Look, I hate to do this because we've been stood up at the altar so many times with this fucking people mover. Okay, I hate to do this, but let's be real. Like, I mean, who knows? What if they do drop something big like a people mover announcement? That would be in line with new technology, because obviously, whatever new people mover they bring to Disneyland would be new tech. If that's what they announce, that's going to be huge. I don't want to say that's what like they're going to do. I'm just throwing it out there because they did post that thing on Instagram. We have this coming tomorrow, all about technology. Even in Kanto, we might get that's technology, because they're building an amazing attraction in Animal Kingdom based on the IP. Maybe they're going to announce we're going to build 2 of them. Or we're going to build.
And maybe that's why we don't know the exact location for Coco yet, because Encanto and Coco kind of go hand in hand with that Latin, Hispanic, Mexican culture.
Exactly. And they're building a bigger Latin area at DCA, which would make total sense. Go ahead, Webba.
Well, I'll do you guys one higher. If this is if they mention the people mover, this could also potentially mean this is a start of reimagining technology of Tomorrowland.
Oh. What if they do? Well, okay, George. What if they do what Ebba's saying? What if what if they announce a brand new Tomorrowland?
You know, if that is the case, that would be very smart on Tomorrow's behalf, because I think right now the fact that they're even having this now, we all know that they have done this before. They have done this before, but the chatter in the community has never been so high that it's almost like people are saying that they are definite there's going to be big news coming out of this event tomorrow. It's going to be live streamed, that we're going to get big breaking park news and everything. They've never said that before. Now, again, could we be overthinking it? Could we be, hyping it up? That is true. But the thing is, that's different this time than it was the last time, is Josh knows he has to fight for that position as CEO. And Dana Alden literally days ago just had her Q&A.
Right.
And here's the thing. This wouldn't be the first time that Disney has announced a refresh of a land outside of a D23 or Destination D event, right? So I'm not saying that they will, but maybe if they do announce a people mover thing, this could be like probably the first phase one of refreshing Tomorrowland with new technology and innovation.
Now, what Tomorrow might do, if that is the case, he could mention the people mover. So there you have a big piece of information, news broke out for tomorrow, and then give a little teaser about that there's more to come for Tomorrowland, and end it at that. Don't say nothing more. You then set the stage for Destination D23 in August.
There you go. And then when do tickets go on sale for that? Do we know?
April.
That exactly, bro. That's why all the stars are aligning, dude. Because think about it. You have the 70th coming up in May, right? You have Destination D in April, or tickets go on sale in April, right?
Yeah, they said that the ticket date and the pricing will be in April, but so probably like April, May-ish would be
okay.
Time frame.
Right. So if you do what you were just saying, George, and you say, you know what, People Mover is coming back for Disneyland. That's our big 70th surprise. And then you drop the ticketing for the Destination D. Oh my! Every Californian and their mother is going to want to get tickets to that thing, because they're going to want to know more details of the People Mover.
And if you go back to the article when they released about Destination D23, why did they move it from the Contemporary to Coronado Springs? Because Coronado Springs can hold more people.
Right, just like they did with the Honda Center. And people were poo-pooing that. Oh, well, they're not going to do anything. And they did a lot. Honda Center, they delivered on that. I've been critical of Josh, but let's be honest, he delivered at that expo. He absolutely delivered. The bigger venue, he had a ton of announcements. The fact that they're moving Destination D to a bigger venue points to something big again. Mm-hmm. You drop that People Mover news, and again, I don't want to get people excited. I don't want to go overboard, but it's just a prediction. It's speculation. But if you drop that news tomorrow morning, and then those tickets go on sale in it later on in April, dude, I'm telling you, they will sell out on that event so fast their head will spin.
Yeah, that would be the right approach that I think Josh should take. I hope he takes that approach. Just to say hypothetically, if he doesn't, because again, this is just our predictions,
It's speculation.
Speculation. Even though we have the special access, we don't have the in-depth, portion of that. But.
Well, yeah, we're a bunch of Bob Iger yes men. We got that special access. We know all kinds of stuff, but this we don't know.
But even if Tomorrow gets on the stage and announces where Pandora is going, where Coco is going, maybe what's the second attraction that's going into Pandora, because we can only assume that there's going to be 2. I don't know if Disney would go as big to work with James Cameron just to do 1 attraction. I think that there would be 2. So that would be kind of a surprise. And again, maybe adding Encanto to the Coco and kind of doing it as a dual package, because again, as you said, OG, they're already building it for Tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom. Why not build 2? Because Disney, and Iger is all about that. And I tell you what, I was up recently at the Creative Campus up at WDI for Indiana Jones Adventures 30th anniversary. And we got to walk into the little preview center, and we got to see a model of the Tropical Americas as a whole. And they even included not just the facade, they included the actual show buildings to both Indiana Jones and Encanto. And I tell you what, that show building for Encanto was about the equivalence of 3 Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's wild. Absolutely wild. So we'll see. I think tomorrow is going to be very interesting to see what Tomorrow and Bergman bring to the table. A lot of murmurs, a lot of rumblings in the community that there's going to be a big announcement or big announcements. We'll see. We'll absolutely see.
What time is it supposed to announce that?
Oh, I think it's like noon, 11:30 or noon Eastern. So it'll be pretty early in California time.
Man, I'm going to be working at that time.
That's okay. We'll text you. I'll bug you. I'll call you, bro. I'll call you during work hours. You know what I'm saying? I'll let you know. But flexibility, Webba. That flexibility, absolutely. But we got more news here. It says Disneyland announces a new 50-foot castle inspired sculpture and more decor for the 70th. So this is in the Esplanade, I guess. This is probably where that Pixar Fest thing was, right?
Yeah. You know what that's going to be? That's going to be where we all met up for 90s night in that circle, right in the middle of the Esplanade, probably.
Yeah, the middle of exactly. So it's okay. I don't know. I'm not. To me, it looks like a repurpose. It looks like literally like the Pixar Fest thing repurposed.
That's probably what they did. They probably took the same structure and they probably just like repainted it. And
well, they did, because you can see like the Raleigh Crumpin style, like inspired, like the structure is definitely the Pixar Fest thing. It's so obvious, you know.
And really quick, I just want to say just really quick, it's 12:30 Eastern time.
There you go. So it'll be bright and early for us, like 9:30 for us. So
okay, cool. I'll be up. So this I like the base of it. I don't like the actual castle and the color scheme. And I say that because to me it looks like one of those, I don't know what you call them, but do you guys remember back when like you were like in kindergarten or first grade during PE and they would have that big circular colorful thing they flip up in the air and like you go on stuff? That like kind of big colorful tent thing. That's what that looks like to me. Some kind of circus thing. The colors and the way it's shaped, it just looks too that type of material that they use for that. I don't know what it's called, but
like vinyl.
Yeah, it looks too not balloony, but like too circus tent-y.
Like a broken condom.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, straight from the ranch.
No, I completely know what you're saying, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this look because it does look like a repurposed Pixar Fest thing. Absolutely. Now, I will say this though, I'm not really like when it comes to temporary decor and stuff like for celebrations, I'm not like super particular about it. Like this thing will be here for 18 months and be gone. So I'm not going to stress out over it. But yeah, I don't particularly love it either. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, again, I'm just pointing out the flaws to me that I think are just not good. But I'm not like I don't feel overly pissed off about it or upset about it. It's just going to be there, and that's what it is. Like,
it is what it is, 100%. Now, what do you think about this? You walk in, this is the decor. I don't mind this so much.
I actually really like this. I like this a lot. I like that there's more to the garden there in front. I do like the little 70th banners that you see in front of it. The big 70th thing in front. I do like that. I do like that there's more purple and blues and not too much yellows. I mean, it still looks kind of Eastery. That's my only complaint about the color scheme for the entire celebration. But other than that, I actually really like this. I think it fits really well with that front centerpiece.
One of the things I do love about the color scheme, I do agree with George. It feels very like springtime, but I do like that they're having fun again. I felt like the 60th was very like over the top, like too serious. You know,
I just wish that they would have fun with two colors, like I would pick two colors and kind of like let that be the main focus, so to speak. You know,
like this is too many.
I feel like it's just too much. I feel like I do love the notion that they are having fun. I just feel like that they like just went like too overboard.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
This in particular, like this, to Ebba's point, I do like how it kind of ties in with the garden. I think it fits very well. I think it creates a statement that, hey, we're celebrating our 70th anniversary. I do wish, because this reminds me of like springtime and Easter, I wish that they didn't put the 70 in an egg shaped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I would have loved it just be like the 70, like just have 70.
Right. Or at least that circular part, paint it like a different color too, not just have it white, because now it looks like an egg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it reinforces more that it looks like an Easter springtime thing. But besides that, again, like we were saying, George, I agree with you. I do like how it fits in with the garden look for the colors.
Yeah, 100%. Very happy, and it's celebrate happy. So it fits the vibe for sure. You know, this is very cute, you know. Yeah, not terrible. I do like what they did more with the castle this time around. I was not a fan of like that weird plastic diamond rooftop thing they did for the 60th. I thought it was tacky as hell. You don't need that. The castle's beautiful. I said this back then. The castle is already pretty. It's already a beautiful structure. It just needs accents. You don't need to like drastically alter it. So it seems like they're kind of going in that direction. Just, you know, some bunting and you're good to go, you know?
Although I would say, OG, for nighttime though, I would like to see a really cool 70th nighttime package.
Right.
Whether like that's a different type of castle shape, because I've seen videos from Disneyland Paris and they do really well with like their nighttime projection on the castle, where like on some of it looks like kind of different structures on it. If they did something like that for nighttime, or like some different or really good color scheme, that was really cool. I think that'd be good, because Disney's really, for me, they do really well with their color packages and projections.
Speaking of which, actually, I think I just tied 2 and 2 together, and I think I know why they went with so many colors. But I'm not going to mention it yet because we still have to talk about it. It's coming up in a future topic of this video.
Okay.
Of color.
Well, yeah, you said it.
That's it.
Let's talk about it. Disneyland Resort 70th anniversary. It says here, World of Color getting Muppets pre-show. That's interesting. That is interesting. Frozen returning to paint the night and more. So it looks like here that give me just a second here. World of Color happiest at DCA Park. This all-new World of Color is inspired by Walt Disney's words from the grand opening park dedication from 7 decades ago: to all who come to this happy place, welcome. And I like the fact that they're using the emotions to kind of tell this story, right? I think that was a very clever storytelling device in this particular circumstance. Now, let's see if it works out, but I think the concept is pretty solid. It says here, the Nighttime Spectacular will explore happy through a kaleidoscope of emotions hosted by joy and other emotions from the Pixar animation studios from Inside Out and Inside Out 2. Along the way, the emotions manifest music and moments from other favorite Pixar animation stories, including Turning Red, The Incredibles, and including a Goofy movie, George, Tangled, Encanto, and so many more. But here's the big kicker right here. This show is an interactive joyride where guests are encouraged to sing and dance along. In addition to featuring classic Disney songs and other iconic favorites, Boys to Men will lead their legendary R&B vocals in a rendition of The Rainbow Connection. That's incredible. Absolutely. Fitz, frontman and namesake of Platinum hitmakers Fitz and the Tantrums, will debut a new original song just for World of Color titled Makes Me Want to Move. I don't love that title, Makes Me Want to Move. It seems a little bit, I don't know.
Like Madagascar, like I like to move it.
No, well, it just, I don't know. With DCA, like in the early years, they like to do this like kind of hip and like the Block Party Bash and all that stuff, you know? It feels a little trendy to me. I don't know. But I love the Boys to Men stuff. I mean, I love Boys to Men. I'm sad they didn't include more Boys to Men in 90s Night, to be honest with you. They should have. But and the Muppets coming to deliver, like it says here, that with the guidance of Joe the Legal Weasel, more than a dozen of the Muppets will deliver their message through vivid projections and expressive fountains ahead of the show. So you get a Muppet pre-show. That's pretty dope, dude. So there's a lot of good stuff here. But what say you, George? What are your feelings on this, brother?
Yeah, and exactly. And I feel like now, the more that I was thinking about it, that even though it does kind of give off like a springtime Easter feel, I feel like they're trying to convey a message out. And I think they're using all those colors and tying it into with the Muppets, you know, with the Rainbow Connection, with Boys to Men. I love the fact that they, you know, teamed up with Boys to Men. I mean, they're phenomenal performers, great entertainers. Their vocals are like so on point, even after how many years that they've been in the business. I can imagine like what that rendition is going to sound like of Rainbow Connection, because I absolutely love that song. Yeah. So the fact that that Boys to Men is going to perform it for World of Color with the fountains and the colors and the characters, oh man, I could only imagine. So I'm really excited about that. I do agree with you, OG. The new the new original song, that title is kind of like, what was it called? Makes Me Want to Move. Like, yeah, the title doesn't really scream like, oh, that sounds, you know, interesting. But I do love when Disney utilizes big time entertainers. Like even back with Disneyland's 50th, they teamed up with Leanne Rimes when she performed Remember When. So I kind of hope that this is like history would repeat itself, that it would bring a whole new light to the Muppets and Rainbow Connection by having Boys to Men sing this.
Yeah, 100%. What say you, Webba?
Yeah, I mean, the title it's, you know, not the best title, but I get it. I get where they're coming from with the title. The title, because in the article there it said that, you know, guests will be able to dance and sing along with the show. So I get that makes you want to move, right? So they want guests to kind of like be dancing and party with it. It's nice to see that, you know, World of Color or DCA is going to get like another show celebrating the anniversary of Disneyland. And I'm really intrigued with the emotional aspect of the music. I think that's a very cool idea. And because we all know how like emotional people get with like the nighttime shows, whether it's nighttime fireworks show or Fantasmic, you know, Disney really knows how to kind of like dig into people's emotions. So it's very cool that they're going to take the kind of emotion characters from Inside Out and kind of have that flavor in the show, which I think is actually really awesome. However, I will say over and over again, I will always prefer the original World of Color show. So I do hope that this show that they're bringing, especially for a celebration of something, is a really big home run for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, George, you shared something in the private chat I want to bring up. Give me just a second, gentlemen.
But Ebba, I do agree with you. I prefer the original World of Color as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So it says here, this is from Drew, the Disney Dude. Disney shares a first look at Carthay Circle restaurant decked out for Disneyland Resort's 70th celebration at DCA. Each evening, the exterior of the restaurant will transform during a special moment filled with music, lights, and projection effects. So this is kind of like the icon of DCA. It's getting it'll be involved in the action, and it has been for a lot of since it opened. It has been involved in Disneyland's celebration. So not a huge shock here, but I mean, anything you guys want to add to this in terms of like the news? I'm not too shocked, but
Yeah, I'm not either. I am glad that, again, like they are adding extra touches and incorporating and including DCA into the festivities. And I love how they're giving it an intimate moment, like when the sun goes down, that Carthay is going to light up with the 70th with maybe like a little lighting package, as it mentions, like with the music and everything. So I think it's just going to be nothing like of a wow factor, but something intimate that'll just kind of like tie into the 70th anniversary.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's dive in. We got more news.
Oh, I want to say too that I know you guys did your video with, was it Tommy Tunes?
Yeah,
right?
Tommy Tune.
George, I remember there was a discussion you guys had on whether, because I believe he was going to get if he was asking if he should get a park hopper, because there was a question about, is DCA going to have any special stuff regarding the 70th? And I believe there was like kind of question lingering of maybe not. Well, looks like DCA will have stuff for the 70th. So
and I actually encouraged him to do so, because even though that Disney at the time when we did the recording, they didn't mention anything like specifically that DCA is going to do, but you never know. Sometimes Disney, just because something isn't mentioned or announced, we kind of learned that from 90s Night, that doesn't mean Disney is going to not do it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, we got some ticketing news here. Disneyland Resort 70th anniversary limited ticket offer. It says here, to make the most of the 70th anniversary at an even greater value, Disneyland Resort is offering a limited time multi-day theme park ticket for as low as $120 per day, with a special 3-day, 1 park per day ticket for a total price of $360. It says here, or you can save even more, as low as $100 per day with a 4-day, 1 park per day. I'll link all this down below. It's a lot of, I don't want to bore everybody, but you can check out the details. It says here that the Disneyland anniversary ticket offer will go on sale March 11th for visitation between the May 16th and August 14th, with a variety of options and flexibility, Eva. Flexibility. You may choose from 3-day or 4-day park tickets, with options available to upgrade to park hopper tickets and to add on Lightning Lane MultiPass. Now, George, these are not just for Californians, or do we know?
No, it is for anybody. It's not like a SoCal ticket. So basically anybody in any state, any city, when on March 11th, you can purchase any one of these tickets, whether you want the 3-day or the 4-day, which is quite surprising, because it feels like Disney is going into the direction that they are trying to get as many people to travel out to Disneyland for the 70th. And they're not just, referring to Californians or locals, they want as much people as they can. So what better way to do that is to give a limited time ticket offer to say, at the kickoff for the 70th anniversary from this time to this time, it is really a really good deal, for the 3-day is $120 per day, so to speak. And the 4-day ticket is $100.
Right.
So
yeah, not bad. No, I've been saying for a long time, Disneyland needs to get away from like just catering to Californians. I'm a Californian. I love California, but like they should be incentivizing people from around the world to come. It is a global destination. So I like this idea. What say you, Webba?
I agree. I think that this is, because usually it's really just the SoCal ticket deals, but this is just for everybody. And this tells me two things. It tells me that obviously this is a 70th anniversary event, so they want more people to come experience the park. Well, actually 3 things. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that I've said it before, I'll say it again, that I believe that summertime is actually Disneyland's slowest season now. Yeah. I believe that they're that with this time frame we're in now, they're really busy because of all the different type of seasonal events that they have going on like currently, and then their holiday events are also, it's really jam packed, and then that leaves with summer really nothing to kind of do. So it's ironically a lighter time, even though kids are out of school. So I think with this, it's really going to give big crowds for the 70th as a celebration. 3, however, is the other thing is that I believe that there's, again, in a competitive theme park market. And there's something else that I think that we're going to bring up why I think this. But I do believe that they are still trying to compete for the dollar value from guests or, theme park fans, normies, what have you. So I think they're really trying to push that.
Well, I agree with you, Eva, with that, because even if you look at Universal Studios Hollywood, they're going to be doing the fan fests, and even though that it'll be, kicking off in April, I've heard that they're looking to expand the fan fest out even further into the year. So if it does start running into the summer, if it goes that far, but Disneyland kind of has that like competitive tone for the 70th anniversary going up against Universal's Fan Fest, and and a lot of times, Universal is trying to like slowly like trudge up that mountain, and Disney, can't afford to slip down, and especially under tomorrow's watch.
Right. Exactly. And of course, we're seeing all this stuff being fixed and refurbished, right? All this stuff. And of course, that's all going to fall under him, right? But yeah, I do believe that right now is a very competitive time for the theme parks. Because here's the thing, stuff is never going to get cheaper. Stuff is always just going to get more expensive, right? So in the future, for both Universal and Disney, more expensive parking, more expensive food, more expensive merchandise, more expensive tickets and annual passes. So how do you bring people to your park with seasonal events and these type of ticket deals?
Well said. Now, Webba, you might know a thing or two about Legoland. The world's biggest Lego festival comes to California in May. Now, what else is happening in May, right? You want to go ahead and set the table for this one?
Oh, yeah. So we got Disney, right? Disney is going to have their celebration as well. We're having this, and this going back to the conversation we just had. Legoland used to have what's called Ninjago Days, I believe, but they haven't announced anything, and a lot of fans were getting kind of worried, like they haven't announced it. Are they not going to have anything? Well, Legoland's bringing back their parade that they debuted last year. They also revamped 5 different tier rooms with all new bedding, all new furniture stuff, new themes, everything. And they're also going to bring, instead of the Ninjago Days, they're going to have a huge Lego festival, which I think is going to be. I think this article, OG, it says 6 weeks. And again, this is, in my opinion, again, another tie-in to a competitive theme park market. Even though Legoland has a demographic of the ages 2 to 12 with their families, they still have to compete with SeaWorld, with Disney, with Universal. They have to compete with other people who are locals and also compete for tourists. I've met guests who were from like Wisconsin and like other type of Midwestern states, and they actually do fly to California to go here. So they're trying to also compete in the Southern California theme park market with these guests for their dollar value. And speaking of which, they're also doing a pass deal: buy 3, get 1 free. So it tells me like that they're really trying to reel people in. And I mean, come on, look. I mean, people always complain that why wasn't Disney responding to Universal? Well, Disney already knew the entire time about Epic Universe. Legoland or Merlin, they know what other theme park companies are doing. They have to adjust their market strategy. So this is going to be one of the big ways to bring people in for the summer. And summertime without school for Legoland is actually really, really busy, believe it or not. This past Super Bowl, you would thought it was dead. Nope, the park was slamming with people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, I agree. I feel like it's a dog eat dog, world out there with the competitive, entertainment and theme parks, and they all have to look out for themselves. They have to do what is best for the brand, what's best for the company, for what's best for the theme park. But to do better, to do best for yourself is you have to look at your competition and see what your competitors are doing, and how can you adapt it into your own way of how it would work, in of how it would work in the demographic of the park that, is being, considered on, specialty deals or events or what have you. Legoland will, is looking at Disney and Universal saying, okay, how can we adapt our own version into that it would make sense of how, Legoland and Merlin operates, and the same thing goes between Universal and Disney. Disney looks at Universal, Universal looks at Disney, whether they want to do, something to the same or not. But as much as they compete, they all look at each other and find ways to create something off of each other.
I mean, George, these at any of these places, right? Because people think, oh, Legoland, right? It should be pretty cheap. It's not cheap. They charge you theme park prices, dude. Like, you're looking at $35 for parking. The hotel, even with my special access for 2 nights on a weekend in the summer, still costed me over $500. And like, the food is also expensive. So these theme parks are going to charge market prices. They're not going to charge you something less just because it's seen as a bit more kiddie or more thrill or whatever. They're going to charge you what the rest of the parks are charging. And I think a lot of guests need to understand that. And when people are talking about, oh, Disney should be more affordable, for families and whatever. Well, here's the thing. Yes, I understand that Disney is a family-friendly theme park. However, Disney's not going to charge you family-friendly prices. They're not. Disney, especially Disneyland, they're looking to more now grow as a Walt Disney World. In this 30-year Disneyland Forward thing, they want it to be a multi-day, multi-night destination, and that's going to be a week or 2 weeks worth, which is going to be probably about $5 or $6 grand for the family.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with Disney, there's a barrier to entry, and there has to be. Demand is too high for it to be super affordable. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they can do these ticketing deals and what have you, but you make it too affordable and it's going to be miserable in there. You have to have some barrier where you can limit that demand somehow. I know people don't want to hear that. It's just the reality of it, though,
Right. No, I mean, you look at the parks the past few weeks, really, with like Lunar New Year. What's it, George Food and Wine right now? The Disneyland has been slamming busy. And I see people, oh, look at those crowds. I don't want to go there. Well, don't go, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have it be less crowded and also cheaper. The demand for, like what OG is saying is too high. Disney has, it's funny because Disney has kind of put themselves in like their own hole, basically. And like the brand recognition and there's no damn brand damage with Disney at all.
Well, and it's like they're damned if you do, they're damned if they don't. It's like if it's too crowded, it's like, okay, Disney needs to maintain the operations of guest flow in the parks. There's too many people this day. But then if the park is light, oh my gosh, Disney is dying. There's not a whole lot of people in the park. Well, it's like, well, then where's the middle ground? Like, you can never just have a perfect day to say, oh, like, what is considered the perfect crowd level? There isn't. It's either you have maybe some days where it's light. There are some days where it's, a heavy flow. It's, you can't control of like what, it just is what it is. Honestly, I would say even though it can be monotonous at times, I'm glad to see people's butts in the parks, because that means Disney is thriving. Disney is relevant, despite of what a lot of people are saying that it's not. So it's like, kudos to them but at the same time, Disney can then kind of like rely on their laurels to say, okay, well, we don't need to change anything. We don't need to make things better because people will show up anyway.
Well,
so that's a little bit of a blessing and a curse to that.
The curse is that at that point, Disney, or just really any company, when they get into that position, they kind of just smell their own farts and they don't look past the wind. and they kind of put themselves in a hole, right? So it's like, yeah, you can charge whatever you want, and people pay for it. Like George, I was talking to you at the parks when we were there at Disneyland. I'm always complaining about like the lack of perks on the Magic Keys compared to other annual passes from other parks, right? But that's the thing, is that they don't have to do that because the demand is so high. People are going to pay for it anyway. Be damned to what the perks are. As long as people have access to the park, they don't really care. So I think Disney is in this position where I always say they need to, yes, compete with the other parks, but they also really need to compete with themselves.
Disney's in more competition with themselves a lot of times than they are with other companies. Mm-hmm. That's another thing fans don't want to hear, but it's the truth. So fascinating stuff. Great conversation, guys. Tomorrow is that event. We'll see what happens. We'll see what's announced. I hope we're not disappointed because we're hearing a lot of rumblings that some big shit's going to be announced, but we'll see. But George, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
And Mr. Webba with his pussy. How you doing, brother? Where can everybody go ahead, brother?
I would just say, just sitting here stroking the furry pussy, it's black too. So,
There you go. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a fantastic discussion. You can find me on Twitter at Webslinger760. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at Cobweb91. You can also find me here on Orange Grove 55. And also, OG, we are all going, me, you, Abby, and my wife are all going to Legoland for that Lego festival that they're doing.
Yes, we are.
That is going to be a fantastic, fun time.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. And until the next time, see you later.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.